Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland, an Arsenal podcast. I'm Gimli and tonight I'll be joined by, first up, fresh from Mexico via Old Trafford, he's the better part of steak and ginger. It's Andrew. Hello, Andrew.
Hey Gimli, how you doing?
I'm not too bad. All the puppies are going this week.
Poor little pups. How's Dom doing?
Do you know what? She's a scrapper. She
Is
is a
she?
scrapper. Yeah, we bought her a pig's ear from the pet shop this afternoon. We think it's going to be all right. But it's incredibly sad times. Yeah, incredibly sad times.
Do you feel
But,
slightly like Cruella de Vil?
in a way, I must ask you, how was Mexico?
Mexico, yeah, it was fantastic. Thank you. I was over on the West Coast for a week. It was nice to get away from the melancholy lifestyle of London. It was lovely, lovely weather and a great time.
And of course, getting married as well.
Yeah, no, the proposal went well.
She said yes.
She did say no. She didn't say yes. Obviously, just for the listeners' clarification here, I went to bed one night. It's a 6-hour time delay, and unlike Gimli, I sleep at normal times. So I woke up and saw that he had tweeted congratulating me on my engagement, retweeted it from the pod account, and then several people, including Hugh Wizzy, who I think has about 50,000 followers, picked up on this. Yeah, and by the time I woke up, I think I had more tweets in one night than I had all year. So thanks for that, guys. And it's good to know that you, the listener, are very, in tune with congratulating me on my love life. But I'm afraid to say there won't be a large Indian-style wedding for you all anytime soon.
But it's not the way you actually made it out, though, was it? It's because you basically made out that you had proposed to her. So I got a little bit drunk and saw that as that you were getting married and decided to congratulate you.
She actually traipsed me, or Twitter raped my
Twait.
Twitter. Yeah, I went for a piss in the restaurant. And I think she put a tweet out saying that I was nervous and I was about to propose to my gal. So yeah, no, it's been one long endless joke from the Pals and the Bay. So
it's like the darling buds of Fife.
Wow, there you go.
Right, we'll move this on. Next up, back by popular demand, and the lady of the podcast, it's Gooner Girl Kate. Hello, Kate.
Hello.
I don't know why I'm saying hello to you. I'm only just upstairs from you, so.
I know, I only saw you 20 minutes ago and I was meant to be coming back down for you to ring me on Skype, and then another 20 minutes later, still waiting.
And how are you this week?
I'm not too bad, thank you.
Good. Looking forward to being back on the podcast. It's been a while.
Has been a while. But last time I was meant to be on, I had a toothache, so I couldn't come on, but no toothache now.
But you've been on with Gav since then.
No, I haven't. I had a toothache after I was on with Gav.
No, you didn't.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
I don't believe you did.
Wait, leave me out of this. I ain't been on your missus, all right?
Right, okay, I'll move on. Right, and finally, she wore a yellow ribbon and we're off to Wembley. It's Gav. Hello, Gav.
Well, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I bet you're in a absolutely cracking mood this week, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, once I'd recovered on Tuesday, Wednesday for Monday's drinking session, I it's all good. It's what it should be about, having something to look forward to at the end of the season and, competing for things. It's how it should be.
Exactly, and it means at least, at the very worst, another trip to Wembley, which can't be a bad thing. And, we might all get another cracking day out like we did last year. So, yeah, exactly. Touch wood. Right, as always, we always start this podcast with the scores across the board from Danny and some Pirates news, but I don't have any Pirates news in front of me, and Danny has pulled a sickie with a squitty botty. So unfortunately,
I think it's probably safe to say the Pirates lost.
Yeah, I think probably. So, should we just pen that down? And normally when it goes down to a loss, it's normally isn't it, a 3-0 loss on average or something like that. But I think we'll go for probably a minus 10-0, just to be fair. So we'll get this podcast kicked off then, and we'll start talking about the 2-1 away win over Manchester United at Old Trafford. Andrew, you were there, so you can tell us what the atmosphere was like before the game.
I was there. I drove up with Mark King, who was on the podcast last week, but really nice guy. He took me and Giles up from the AFTV podcast. It was we got up there about 5 p.m. And met Amanda in the Old Trafford Hotel for a couple of beers. Sent a tweet out. Funny enough, at Manchester, it's slightly different. So at the Arsenal, you have you have designated away fan pubs. So there's one up in King's Cross, then you've got the Drayton Arms just by the stadium. In Manchester, it's not really like that. Not really any designated away fan pubs that we're aware of. So I sent a tweet out, seeing where the Arsenal fans are congregating, and a guy called at Clockend to stand. That's Clockend to stand. Really nice guy. Sent a tweet back to saying everyone's in the quadrant. And then actually sent some location on how to get there, and it was great. We went up to the quadrant. It's a little pub about a 10-15 minute walk from Old Trafford, up near the station. Oh, you're right there, Kate. What's Gimli doing to you?
Puppies are fighting.
And so we went to the quadrant pub, and it's this rascal little pub, about 15-minute walk, and the strange thing is there were some Man United fans in there, but from about 50 meters away, all you could hear was the song 49 Undefeated pumping and getting louder and louder and louder. And so we eventually got into the pub, and there was a handful of Man United fans, disgusted, started walking out. And there must have been about 300 Arsenal fans in this pub, 400, 500 even, just everyone going absolutely crackers, singing all the old songs about Bergkamp, Canoe, Parlour, all the great songs you hear now. The fans right from the outset were really up for it. There was a lot of anti-Man United songs going on, songs about how we won the league at Old Trafford. You could tell, before the game, we were really up for it. Walking to the stadium, big groups of fans together, everyone, having a laugh, everyone singing Arsenal songs. Not too much, there wasn't any real issues from the Man United fans. There was no real trouble at all, but you could tell that, the fans who were most up for it were certainly the Arsenal lot. The walk itself, was brilliant. And then inside the stadium, just before the game, it was honestly, I've not seen anything like it in a long time. It was absolutely electric. In the concourse before the game, I put a vine up the other day of Arsenal. There's a famous song for the guys who don't go to the games at all. Or in the pub beforehand, we all sing that that there was 10 Tottenham points in the gap, referring to when Tottenham was 10 points ahead of Arsenal a few years ago. And the boys from the Arsenal shot one down, and it goes all the way down. And then when we sing that, Tottenham mind the gap, there was people, there's pints flying everywhere. There's one of the, it's like something out of a Nirvana mosh pit from the early 90s. It was absolutely incredible. And that atmosphere completely translated as soon as the fans got out into the stadium. And there was only one team really that was fully behind one set of fans that was behind their team for the 90 minutes. I think Arsenal fans probably sang more during the game about Danny Welbeck than what the Man United fans did in their entire, in his entire tenure at the club, in the last 7 seasons or so, and it was fantastic. And the players responded in kind, with the way they played, and it was fantastic to see. And it was an amazing night to be an Arsenal fan and to be a part of that.
Mm. And Gav, how did we set up on the actual day? Do you think we picked the right team? Do you think tactically we were up to task? Do you think we did what we did well?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was kind of like a throwback to that Man City game, where we weren't too bothered about the possession. And obviously, when we lost the ball, we was tracking back. Everybody was getting back in their positions. Coughlin had an absolute storm of a game. Do you know what I mean? He was putting his boot in. He was a handful. It was absolutely amazing. And it's just what you want to see every game, really. And like I say, that's been the problem, really. Since the Man City game, everyone thought, that's it, we're going to turn it around. It's going to be a slightly different way of playing. And we kind of sort of faltered and spluttered a bit since then, really. But it was nice to see a decent playing game in place. I was a bit worried about, like everybody really, Welbeck being up top to start with. I was a bit miffed that Theo didn't start as well. But that aside, really, the team kind of picked itself. But it just seemed like even the players were up for it. They knew it was a big game. They knew it was really sort of like the last realistic chance of any silverware this year. And, they put the shift in. So it was all good, really.
Mm. And I remember favouriting a tweet a while ago. I think it was after that lot of the road beat us. And you tweeted something like, obviously that means that the result against Man City was a fluke. Is that something you still stand by, or do you think that we have the ability to play like that in these games?
I said it was a fluke.
Yes.
No, I bloody didn't.
I remember the tweet. It said something like, or maybe you asked the question. That could have been it. That you said. So, does the fact that we played against a big game, which should have been, them away from home, does that mean that we played against Man City and we played that way? It was a fluke that we won that game.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of unusual to see us playing that way, and we've sort of gone from being very much possession based to literally sort of like a counter attack, in some of the bigger games. And I mean, obviously the style of play and the change of style of play takes a while getting used to, really. But like I say, I just think that everybody put a shift in. I mean, there was brilliant performances by our players, completely all over the pitch. I mean, Nacho, Monreal, he was quality. Even without his goal, he was quality. The Ox down the right was running bloody Luke Shaw, whatever his bloody name is. He was running him absolutely ragged. Coughlin in the middle, I've already mentioned him. Koscielny and Mertesacker, apart from their goal, they had good games. Bellerin didn't get found out too much, even though, I mean, he was up against, what should be a very classy sort of player that he was up against in Maria. But it was just one of those days where they all just seemed to click and they all just seemed to want it. And they should be like that every game. And that's what sometimes I can't get my head around.
Mm. And Kate, we'll go over to you next. Many people were surprised to see Danny Welbeck start over Olivier Giroud. Were you one of those people?
No, he was always going to get that game just to show what he can do. We all know that he's going to be great for us. We didn't all like him when he first got signed. I was one of them. But I'm so glad he celebrated. And I know that's not in the spirit of the game, but let's be fair, we all loved the fact that he did.
And we will talk about whether or not we think he was right to celebrate later in this segment. But we'll go back to Andrew. And Nacho gave us the lead, of course, Andrew. He's been our unsung hero this season, hasn't he? Do you think he's now ahead of Gibbs?
I think he's certainly, he's come on leaps and bounds this season. He's, Wenger's obviously shown a lot of trust and faith in him, and he's put him in centre back when he's needed to, and he's played him at left back when he's needed to, and he's really repaid the faith in Wenger by, being consistent throughout for us. And now I think with Gibbs, finally coming back from injury, it's a testament to Wenger's, to the confidence he's instilled in Wenger, that Wenger hasn't reverted back to Gibbs, which is what he did quite a lot last season. Nacho was brought in and brought out on the basis of, when Gibbs was and wasn't fit. Whereas now you feel, actually, this time Nacho's really taken the bull by the horns, and he's given himself something. He's given he's really educated Wenger to what he can offer the club, much like what we might see with Ospina for Szczesny. I think in that left back position he's a lot more mature now, or he's certainly a lot more of a calming influence. Last year he was prone to a few errors here or there. But what he gives us as a defender, I think, he doesn't get forward quite as much as what Gibbs does, but he's far more solid at left back. He's far more of the Winterburn type defender, or even, dare I say, Ashley Cole. And that's not to say that Nacho doesn't get forward. Obviously, we saw that with the goal. We saw, he got forward very well in the first half. And a lot of the Arsenal pressure was put down that side. We really went for Valencia. So even when Sanchez presses high up the field, Nacho isn't too far behind, giving him the support that he needs. And I think him and Sanchez are forming a very, very effective and efficient partnership down there. And I can't see Gibbs getting back into the team anytime too soon if Nacho keeps up this kind of performance.
No, and it was a well taken goal, wasn't it, Gav? We've seen him get into those kind of positions many times within the season, but unfortunately he's been, quite unlucky that either the goalkeeper's made a cracking save or a defender has made a block on it. But he's been very, very good overall, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you can't really knock him, really. I like the fellow. I like him. I think he's work rate and he puts in a shift, and he don't get down if he misses a chance. He's back up and he makes some intelligent runs at times. And that's all you expect. He's not going to be the most talented striker in the world ever, and he's never going to get you 20, 25 goals. But you need players that are going to come in and get the 10 to 15 goals a season, like we had with Wiltord many years ago. When sometimes he was played out on the right, which wasn't his favourable position, but when he come in and done the job, and that's what you need. It's a squad game. You need to be able to sort of bring in players like him and the talent of him in games like that, and it can make the difference.
Players that keep your team ticking over with important goals now and again.
Well, exactly, and like I say, one of the problems that we've had is we've had a few seasons where we've only really had one, decent main central forward. And like I say, it's not really fair on them to be playing every game of the season. It's not fair on us to expect them to be on top of their game if they are played every game of the season. So, you need players, in a good squad that's actually going to consistently challenge for trophies. You need players like Welbeck.
And Kate, we'll go to you next, and we'll try and do the game as it happened, although it might be a bit out of kilter, depending on my notes. We'll talk about the Rooney equaliser. Just how bad were the defence for that? Because it just seemed like he had an acre of space, didn't he?
Defence was bad, and then Szczesny could have done a lot better than what he did. I think I said to you while we were watching it that if that had been Ospina, I think he would have saved it. I don't know. I know we've all got... Arsene Wenger's got his way of playing the same players throughout the FA Cup and throughout the Carling Cup, or whatever it's called, Community Shield these days, Community Cup. Oh, what's it called? The Cop Cup, that one.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was the right decision to play Szczesny. I don't think he's in the right place right now. I don't think he's playing well. The defenders had a bit of a shocker, but he should still have done better.
I think I agree with you there. I just have visions that had that cross have come across and Ospina would have been in goal, he would have come out and maybe tried to punch it away instead of, Szczesny kind of stood there a little bit static, maybe caught in two minds as what to do. Andrew, do you think that that's the rustiness of having, maybe a month on the bench?
Yeah, certainly. I think there's going to be the rustiness element and also, slight confidence issues where that's never really been a problem for Szczesny before. There was one moment when heart in mouth, when the ball came to his feet and all he had to do was knock it out and he tried to take Rooney on and, he was successful in that. He dribbled it past him. But it's just, it goes completely against the grain of what you expect in a performance from Szczesny. At the moment, he's been, either dropped, rested, however we want to call it, by Wenger because of, a lack of a lack of solid performances in recent months, and culminating with that Southampton awful performance. And we've seen time and time again with Szczesny, he makes these silly mistakes where he gets over arrogant and tries to dribble around players or do things which you really shouldn't be doing as a goalkeeper. And to see him do that again, and then a couple of minutes later when he played a short ball, I think it was directly to, it might have been Fellaini or Ashley Young, who were about 30 yards out, and just put the team under pressure. Is exactly not what we want to see, especially in such a big game. And as Kate says, maybe he's not in the right mental frame right now. Whereas you compare that to last year to someone like Fabianski, who used to come on off the bench from time to time, or be our cup keeper, and he'd always be ready for it. He'd always, he wasn't maybe as good as Szczesny, but he'd always be mentally there. Whereas Szczesny, he doesn't seem like he's taking on board what you would expect him to, and he's not showing the humbleness or the humility you'd expect him to have learned in this time off. And I was slightly disappointed by that. Although for saying that, he did make a couple of very good saves in the game. Notably, I think there was a shot into the near post by Di Maria, which he made a great save for. And he was tested a couple of times. But yeah, no, I was slightly disappointed, and he was getting quite a lot of stick from people behind me as well.
And I don't know about you, Gav, but it seems to me that with Ospina in goal, I've kind of got a little bit of a calmness over me, where every time a ball gets crossed in, my heart's not in my mouth thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, what's going to happen here? I mean, does Szczesny still worry you when he's in goal? When crosses come in, do you still think, oh, Jesus, this is, not going to end out well?
I worry about every keeper that we've had ever when it comes to crosses and punching out. And yeah, no, I don't think really there's much of a muchness between Szczesny and Ospina. I don't, like I say, if you had to rate them both out of 100, there wouldn't be a lot of difference between the two of them. But it's just really where their head's at the moment. And like I say, I mean, I think it was good for Szczesny in the week. He done well, and like Andrew said, he pulled off a good save that was close to his right foot, which he made the right call there. He made the right decision, and he more or less made the right decisions throughout the whole of the game as well. So I just worry about all keepers in general. Do you know what I mean? I mean, when you're when you constantly have different keepers making the same mistakes, you've got to wonder what they're getting trained and what they're getting taught in training.
Yeah, I think that's something we've covered before on the show. That we've said that the standard of goalkeeper coach at our club isn't good enough with what we should be having there.
It's, like I say, it's one of two things. Either the keepers that we're getting in aren't good enough, or the keepers that we are getting in are good enough and they're not being trained correctly. It's one of the two. I mean, it's possibly a bit of both, to be fair. But like I say, really, I mean, depending on how the rest of the season goes, then, Wenger's got a big choice in the summer, really. But, I mean, I'd like to see him go out and spend decent money on a well-established, mature keeper, really.
Yeah, because in all fairness, it's the same with the defence, really. He's never had to go out and spend big money on it, has he? He's always worried about the attacking options within the club. So now it's got to the point where maybe he does have to address that goalkeeping situation and he's got money in his back pocket to do it. What does he do?
Yeah. Could I just think Ibrahimovic has just been sent off for PSG. He's just been sent off.
Bollocks, I bet on PSG.
They've only been playing 31 minutes, just made a bad tackle on Oscar, I think it was.
Oh, that's my...
It wasn't even that bad.
Shall I run my bollocks downstairs to you now? Because I used some money out the Paddy Power account. Your Cheltenham money.
Oh, that's all right.
Oh, relieved. Live on air. Seeing as we're with you, Kate, Gav talks about making the right decisions. And I think a man that's definitely made most of the right decisions on the evening was the referee. I recall tweeting at the time that I can't recall the last time that I actually said nice things about a referee in a game, but he got it pretty much spot on, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he had a really good game. There's probably Man United fans out there that would disagree with us. In fact, I know there's some. But I personally think he had a good game. I think he got the decisions that he made that could have been quite controversial, i.e. edge of the area stuff. I think he got them spot on. But I might just be biased because I'm an Arsenal fan, but I think he did.
And Gav, one of the more important decisions that he had to make on the night was the possible sending off of Hector Bellerin. Do you think he got it spot on?
I think the ref had a sort of really, when we look at it, he kind of had two different games. I thought first half, it was absolutely fucking appalling. And I even tweeted at half time and, put on Facebook at half time that he was having an absolute shocker. I mean, at time, I think Fellaini had probably committed about 5 or 6, tackles, which were all fouls. Plus, obviously, what he'd done to Coughlin's face as well. And I thought he was having an absolute shocker why Fellaini wasn't booked in the first half. And then Bellerin gets booked in the first half. We go up the other end, more or less identical tackle for them, not booked. Welbeck on the edge of the box, whether it was inside or outside, that's not the debate, but the debate was it was definitely a foul, and the ref didn't call up for that. And then second half, the ref just got the major decisions right. He got all the decisions right, and that's all you want. Do you know what I mean? And I can't stand the fact that we're praising a referee for doing his job correctly.
No.
It shouldn't be. Well done for sending a player off that's done a bookable tackle and then grabbed your shirt. Well, they're two yellow cards. He had no choice but to do it. Do you know what I mean? He had no choice but to show him 2 cards and send him off. And that's the thing. We shouldn't be saying how well and how brave he is. That's just how it should be. But I mean, like I say, it really was two halves. The first half, I thought he had a stinker, and in the second half, he just got the decisions right. And that's, a complete unbiased opinion. I mean, our Man United supporters can say that we paid off the ref or whatever. I mean, after the fucking shocking refs that we've had up there over the years, it is beyond me. They've got no calls whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? It's just the fact that he called it right. And that's all you want in a game. You don't want to be talking about, after a game of football, you don't want to be talking about the ref's performance.
No.
You want to be talking about the fucking player's performance. And there's too many shit refs out there at the moment. The standard over the last few years is just getting worse and worse, really. Yeah. Anyway, that's just my little rant on that, because it just wound me up.
No. That's fair enough. Andrew, I'll come to you. two of the big decisions that he picked out on the night were the two dives, mainly from Di Maria and Januzaj. I don't know about you. My heart was in my mouth when Januzaj went in the box. I thought, he could have quite blown up for a penalty there, but it was a clear dive and he got punished for it, which was quite correct, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously where we were is the complete opposite end of the stadium. So we didn't see at first, and there's not jumbotrons or big screens in Old Trafford. Not that they'd show it anyway, because they don't show controversial decisions in the Emirates. And we all thought, that's a dead cert penalty. He's just sent a player off for Man United. It's 10 minutes, 10 minutes to go. It's in front of the Stretford end at Man U. Stretford end, sorry. He's definitely going to give a penalty here to balance it back up. And then when he goes over and books him, honestly, I've not felt that relieved in such a long time. And then watching back on the highlights, it was again Januzaj. We saw it last year in his kind of first season in England. He made a name for himself for being a hot promising talent, but more so for for his antics and for him. He goes down quicker than a hooker on Jace, a Welsh hooker on Jace. It really is atrocious. The number of times that he's taken dives since he's been, I think he's right at the top. He's one of the leading, if not the person who's been booked the most since the Premier League began for diving. Where he's certainly in the top three, I believe I read, and that was last season. The ref made a great call there. He's taken another 2 or 3 steps after any contact with Nacho, which was mild at best. It was a light coming together of hands. And so for him to throw himself to the floor when he's got past Nacho, it's not only has he's made a very ignominious decision in terms of the lack of ethics, but the fact that he's made such a peculiar decision now that he's got past the player. He's on the byline and all he has to do is look up to try and find someone in the box, and it's 2-2. So for him to take that decision is completely ludicrous. And I imagine he's going to get he did get a complete rollicking after the game from Van Gaal for two terrible decisions in one.
And Kate, over to you next. We'll talk about possibly the most talked about decision of the night, which was the Di Maria sending off. Now, a lot of people have said, well, it's a bit harsh, and a lot of people have said rules are rules. You can't put your hands on the referee. What did you make of this one? Should he have walked for it?
Yeah, I 100% agree with Gav. He's made the right decision. You can't not. It's in the rules. It's what they're meant to go by. Why shouldn't he have been sent off? Yeah, it's a cup. It's a cup tie. It's a cup game. It's not a cup final. It's not in the first 5 minutes of the match. He did wrong. He gets punished for it. It's simple.
And 2 yellow cards within the space of, I think it was about 30 seconds. I don't think I was alone when I probably was in dreamland by that point. Were you in the same place, Gav?
I was hiding. We ended up, like I say, we watched the game indoors. I'd had a few drinks and we ended up watching the second half in our bedroom, and my electric cigarette by that point had run out of power. So I've got my electric cigarette plugged into the wall socket. So I'm literally sitting on the floor, the furthest point away from the TV, just rocking and praying. And I can't remember when I've been in such a state watching a game of football or watching the end of the game of football. Do you know what I mean? It was just such relief when that game was over. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Just such a relief. Look, for us to, for everything that's put against us going up there, the fans that went up there, like all Andrew and everybody else, were absolutely superb. It's all more or less you could hear on the telly. And I don't think there's many clubs in this world. I don't think there's many clubs in Europe that could take 9,000 fans away on a Monday night. Most of them have missed a day's work. Most of them are turned up either taking Tuesday off as well, or turned up knackered for work on the Tuesday after, getting back to London 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. And like I say, for everybody to be as up for it as that crowd were, and it's just a testament to the great support and the great decent support that we've got, really.
Yeah, no, amen to that one. The away fans, I think, for us are always fantastic. When you hear them, they always on a par with the home support. Just our away fans are on a different level. It's quite amazing why we can't drum up that kind of support for home matches, really. But we will talk about the main talking point for the night, which is Danny Welbeck's goal. Andrew, I'll go to you. Was he right to celebrate?
Yeah, I think for sure he was. Listen, he's an Arsenal player. Wenger took a chance on him when obviously we have to appreciate he's a Manchester boy and he's grown up supporting Manchester. Manchester United, he lived his dream. He played there from a youth player up until he made it as an England international. And he learned his trade there, and that must have been fantastic for him. And I would love to have, we all would have loved to have grown up playing for Arsenal. Just like he got to live his dream, but unfortunately, the new manager came in and didn't like what he had to offer. And I think it was slightly unnecessary in the summer when Van Gaal made it public that he didn't think that Welbeck was going to score enough goals. It seemed a very disrespectful way to part with someone, especially to someone who loves the club so much. And I think, coming to the main question on the celebration, I do actually think it's right that Danny Welbeck celebrated, and not just because I'm an Arsenal fan. He didn't do the full Adebayo and run one end of the pitch, giving it the old FU to all the Man U fans. It was a relatively muted celebration, and it was actually in front of the Arsenal crowd, not in front of any of the Manchester United crowd. He's, obviously ecstatic. The Arsenal fans had been singing his name, long before the game, long throughout the game, had been giving him lots of support when, I don't want to sound critical of him, but I don't think he necessarily had the best first half. He was obviously quite nervous. A lot of his runs off the ball weren't going into the areas which you'd expect him, or that he wasn't running the channels. He wasn't particularly winning many of the duels, and so his confidence maybe wasn't as high as what you'd expect, or maybe he was slightly overawed by the occasion of going back to Old Trafford. So I think it was probably just a natural reaction for him. He's probably happy for himself, happy for the fans, happy for Arsenal, happy that he's proven Van Gaal wrong, and it was probably a huge sigh of relief for him. It was slightly, you could say it was slightly fortunate, the goal from the back pass from Valencia, but it was fantastic work from Sanchez and Welbeck to close them down and put Manchester United under that pressure. I think, the fact Welbeck celebrated was great. I've never really been a fan of when you see players refusing to celebrate against former clubs. He's an Arsenal player now, and he's probably in cloud nine. So all for it. That boy Danny Welbeck.
Exactly. And Gav, I'll ask the question to everybody because I think it's fairly important. I don't think we should forget that Danny Welbeck had been at Man United since about the age of 8. We've all seen that picture going around of Ryan Giggs obviously doing like a training session for the really, really young kids. He looked really young in that. Man United fan all his life from around that point. Would have stayed with United had he not been cleared out. I believe with players like Zaha, he got moved into another training group, and in the last couple of weeks at Man United, he trained away from the first team. When you take all this into account, surely he's right to celebrate, isn't he? He's moved his career on. He's always spoken highly about Arsenal. He seemed delighted to celebrate, even though some of the fan base, were actually rubbing their heads on whether it was the right decision to actually sign him. But it was magical, wasn't it? Should he have celebrated?
I think like I say, what you really got to distinguish is the difference between celebrating and over-celebrating. And like I say, it's nice when an ex-player scores against a team that he's had a long association with, for him to sort of acknowledge the fans that are paying his wages at the moment, and then just sort of like walk back. And then there's pricks like Adebayo who want to run the whole fucking length of the pitch to celebrate in front of you. Do you know what I mean? There's a difference. Do you know what I mean? And he didn't go nuts. He celebrated. He didn't go nuts. He didn't run, do anything sliding on his knees or whatever. I think that the way that Welbeck done it, I think he showed respect to Arsenal supporters and Man United supporters at the same time. I think he just got the balance right. It was. Do you know what I mean? It's nobody likes to see a player score and then just put their hands down by their side and walk back. And nobody wants to see an ex-player going like that fucking idiot Adebayo went. So I think, I think he just done it right. He just got the right mix between being respectful for both sets of fans.
Would you say it was disrespectful to your current club and the club that paid your wages if you don't celebrate a goal?
It depends really, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? I mean, like I say, it all depends. I mean, you celebrate, but the over the top just to wind up the other fans is bollocks. But like I say, you've got to sort of show respect to the team that you're playing for at the moment. So, like I say, you couldn't say his celebrations were over the top. Do you know what I mean? He didn't run the length of the pitch, high-fiving everybody and, sticking his arse out at the Man United fans. He just sort of jumped up, put his arms out, I've scored, and that's that. It was just respectful for everybody all round, I think.
Yeah, and Kate, you could tell how much it meant to him when he hugged Bayer, and I think it probably squeezed all the life out of the poor lad. Right to celebrate or not?
Yes, definitely. Like Gav said, he didn't go over the top, didn't go too... I do think it's a bit overboard that the Man United fans were supposedly sending him death threats, though, just because he scored against them. They didn't want him. They told him he wasn't good enough. Why shouldn't he score a goal to prove that he is good enough and he is better than they say he was?
Yeah, no, very true. And we'll stick with you. I mean, is this truly the fairy tale that is the FA Cup? I mean, you look at the story, you've got an ex-player dumped by the club and he comes back and he's effectively, he has finished off Manchester United season in all hopes of winning any kind of silverware. That's something pretty special, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, the FA Cup's magical anyway. Out of all cups, I'd always favour the FA Cup, I guess. It always has a magic to it, but it was a really good match, and we haven't seen great FA Cup matches in a while, but that was one of them. It was end to end, and it was non-stop. And we all sat there with our hearts in our mouth waiting for the final whistle to go, just hoping that we didn't fuck it up.
I know, I think you get your results flash up on your phone, and even when the result flashed up that we had actually beaten Man United 2-1, I still had to look on the telly to make sure that they hadn't fucked it up. I think it was one of those. And I do recall seeing you, Gav, tweet that was a proper FA Cup match, wasn't it? It was a slobber knocker.
A slobber what, a knocker?
A slobber knocker. It's like an American slang term for a fucking good game.
Am I American?
No.
Sounds like it should be from the
fucking
BFG.
Americanisms then, you fucking a slobber knocker. Do you know what I mean? I thought. Yeah, no, you are right. I thought our offense was really good, and we was really good in the defense.
You're a piss taker.
Yeah, no, it's how it's. Do you know what I mean? Football, it was just a massive game. I mean, it was a massive game for us. It was a massive game for Man United. Man United now can't win anything this season, unless there's an absolute miracle and loads of meltdowns above them in the table. We're almost on our final rights in the Champions League, so really it was our only realistic chance of winning anything, and it was a big pressure game. And sometimes when that happens, the actual performances from both teams can be shit.
Yeah,
but like I say, I mean, I thought there was lots of brilliant performances by us. There was 2 or 3 good performances by Man United as well, with regards to their players. So it's what you want to see. I mean, the only, like I say, the shame is it was a Monday at 8:00 or whenever it bloody was, and it weren't a Saturday or even not as bad, but a Sunday game. But like I say, there you go. The people that went up there were the ones that have got that memory ingrained in them. Do you know what I mean?
No, exactly so. And I know Andrew wanted to talk about a couple of individual players. That I want to cover a little bit on Oxlade-Chamberlain as well, because he got taken off with a slight hamstring niggle. But I know you wanted to talk about Santi Cazorla, didn't you, Andrew?
Yeah, I thought he hasn't been mentioned properly. I don't think so far in the pod. Now, obviously, Gav went player by player, but for me, Santi was absolutely standout on the night. Obviously, we've talked before in this pod about his versatility in the team, how he's come into the team. Initially, he was fantastic as that number 10 player. He's played on the right for us. He's played on the left, and as we've kind of noticed in recent weeks, in a lot of the big games and the games where we've stepped up, he's been almost a deep lying playmaker for us, or someone who's driving the team from the position we expect to see from people like Wilshere and Ramsey or Arteta. He was phenomenal on the night. Obviously he's only about 4'5", but he was. I think he won about 6 out of. I think I read it was 6 out of 7 of tackles he went in for. He won about 75% of his duels. His pass completion rate was about 88%. He made 40 passes. He was just everywhere on the night. He was, as Gav would say, he was offensively superior, defensively superior. His bilateral movement and all that crap was fantastic. And he really neutered that Man United team. I think one of the things which I noticed from the side was the difference in the way in which Arsenal and Man United played was just the sheer effectiveness of our game. So, we saw Man United, they had a lot more retention of the ball than we did, and they kept the ball well. They played more passes than us. However, Man United really struggled to find an efficient form of breaking Arsenal down from defence to attack. They were much slower in getting the ball into the final third, and so we saw, even though Arsenal had fewer passes and less possession, we actually played the ball far more in the Man United half and far more in the Man United end. And I think a lot of that comes down to Cazorla's ability to switch the game quickly. He was very direct in his movement from deep positions and kind of transitioning the team forward. Obviously, it helps having players like Sanchez and Ozil around you. But in terms of the new style that we kind of seen from Arsenal, or one of the styles we've seen from Arsenal in weeks, is we're kind of letting teams come at us, letting teams hold the ball, have possession, and then wait and then counter on them again. And I think having players like Cazorla in the team, it is crucial that we have his kind of abilities in the middle of the park. It's great to see that he's dropped about 10, 15 metres in his game to kind of take this position. But he was certainly a standout performer for me on the night. And, he was, very effective in bringing the forward players into the game and just driving the team at all times, whilst being, an absolute hero for his defensive efforts as well.
That's what I like about Santi, is for his size and his build, he holds on to the ball well, doesn't he? He knows how to shield the ball. He knows how to sort of, keep possession. And, I mirror exactly what Andrew said there. I mean, he's he probably won't get player of the season, but he shouldn't be that far off it for how he's playing and how he's been playing this year.
Yeah, I agree on that, Gavin. He just wriggles. When he gets the ball, he can turn on a sixpence, can't he? He can take the entire team out of danger just through one Cruyff turn or one inside-out turn, and he just completely changes, with one touch, 2 touches, the entire dynamic of an attack, or the way in which he breaks down the opposition, and it's fantastic. He was right at the heart of the game throughout. And I think, maybe he wasn't necessarily the man of the match, but he was certainly, for me, the man of the match. And he was just like, the performance at Man City away earlier this year, where we got our other big win away, completely instrumental. And I think it's a testament to his ability and his versatility that he's been in these great performances in a deeper position.
Do you think he's been moved backwards a little bit so that we can sort of accommodate him and Ozil both through the middle?
Yeah, I do. I agree with that. He has been. He's been moved more alongside Coquelin and that role, and I think he's done it really well. I mean, technically, he is probably, if not the best, one of the most technically gifted players in our team. He can use both feet with ease. He's a fantastic player. Someone I did want to talk about as well, Gav, Oxlade-Chamberlain. I mean, he only played a short part in this match, but there was a couple of standout things that he did. When he took the ball, he dropped his head and he just ran past Luke Shaw as if he wasn't even there. Wasn't it just a fantastic to see him? And I mean, that is probably near his best, doing what he does best, running with the balls, putting crosses in. He really will be an important part of our team, won't he, for years to come?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I really like him. I like the fact that he wants to be direct. Do you know what I mean? He's okay if he gets the ball with his back to goal, or he gets the ball out wide, but he's always looking to sort of turn, and he's always looking to run, directly at the opposition with pace. And he's got the skill, and he's got quite a bit of the end product as well. And it was a shame for him when he went off, because he really, really was giving Luke Shaw an absolute fucking hiding. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he was.
Luke Shaw opened his mouth up on Twitter in the morning and he put a tweet out to Oxlade-Chamberlain, a couple of other Arsenal players, having a bit of banter with them or whatever. But like I say, Ox got on the pitch and he really did the talking. I mean, if he'd stayed on the whole game, I think we probably would have won by another couple of goals. He was really having, really a big miss when he went off the pitch because, we had that from both sides. When you've got him doing that on one side and you've got Alexis doing that on the other side, it really, really gives defences, a problem, and it really gives them something to think about. And it's just really good to have, two pacey players that have got strength, that have got a final ball. And like I say, the future's so bright. So bright, Chamberlain.
No, definitely so. I agree. News on that is he's got a slight hamstring injury, and he looks set to miss the England game, or he will miss the England game. I think I've read that somewhere today. I'll go over to Kate. How much did this result mean for you? I know you got history with people that don't like Man United. We've had some awful results against them in previous years. So was this sweet to actually end all chance of winning silverware this season, which is, I think that's 2 years without winning a trophy, which is the longest in 16 years they've gone without silverware. So that's pretty special, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. That's one of the best things ever. I know we all hate Spurs and people hate Chelsea, but Man United are one of those teams that I really can't stand. And I'm so pleased we put them out of the cup and gave them no chance to win any kind of cup this season.
No, I don't think I've ever quite seen you swear like that before.
Well, I only started swearing when I met you, so it's your fault.
You have a mouth like a sewer when Arsenal are on.
I know, it's terrible. I do turn into a bloke when it comes to football. I swear more than I ever swear at any other time. It's Arsenal's fault. If they didn't make me swear, I wouldn't swear.
Yes, that's very true. Mine and Arsenal's fault. I'll take the
Oh yeah.
I'll take the credit for that. Andrew, and a little bit, you did the atmosphere before the game and everyone was buzzing. I can imagine what the atmosphere was like afterwards. Would you like to talk us through it?
Fucking hell, it was fantastic. Well, I mean, throughout the game, it was unreal. So, as I mentioned earlier, when Danny Welbeck scored, the United fans were silenced, completely and utterly silenced. I think the only time in the game where the United fans made more noise than the Arsenal fans was when the guy put the fourth official put the 5 minutes to go up on the board, and we were all thinking, "Fuck me!" And that's the only time United fans made any real noise, obviously apart from the Rooney goal. But we were singing the Danny Welbeck song, pretty much throughout the game, and singing that we're going to Wembley. And there was this one lad actually behind me, and I think a tweed. He must have been at least 20 stone, right? And when Welbeck's goal hit the back of the net, he went flying and like a bowling ball, knocked about 10 people to his left over. Proper, knocked us all down. I must have gone flying by about 2 meters. But everyone's got straight back up. Everyone's jumping. Everyone's absolutely pumping for this. When the final whistle goes, all 9,000 of the Arsenal fans, stayed in the ground for a good 10, 15 minutes, well, stayed in their seats, stood up for a good 10, 15 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes at least. And I'm about every single person clapping the team that, all the lads come over as they always do, and the old She War songs is playing. All the songs about us going to Wembley are absolutely pumping. And you walk down the stairs through the concourse and it's just, it's completely jubilant. It's, it's completely pan silence from United fans. Before the game, there's a few songs coming over. The United fans obviously like to sing their homophobic songs about Sol Campbell. And the Arsenal fans completely silenced them before the game just by saying, we won the league at Old Trafford in 2002. And coming out of the ground, it's exactly the same. United fans were completely dumbfounded, completely silenced. All you could hear was huge groups of Arsenal fans. But even though there's 9,000 Arsenal fans there was still, at least another 55,000 Man United fans, of which at least 20,000 probably support Man U, and they're not just there for freebie handouts from corporates. And all you could hear, was these big blocks of Arsenal fans, down the streets, jubilantly singing away, all about Danny Welbeck, about how we're going to Wembley, and completely stormed the town. It was fantastic. And there was no attempt from United fans to try and counter us. They were just completely sucker punched, and the night and the feeling was just completely ours. You can tell it meant so much to the crowd. Obviously, us versus Man United isn't the game it used to be back in the early noughties, late 90s, but there's still the rivalry there, especially for the FA Cup. There's kind of that honour there of who's won it the most. We're joint at the moment. So if we go on to win it this season, we'll be, the number one club in English football history to have won the FA Cup. So, it certainly meant a lot to the fans. And, it's our second big win of this season away in Manchester. The spirit amongst us was incredible. And then me and Mark and Giles actually probably at one point were about, I'd say, a good half a mile ahead of another large block, which was yet to be let out. And we could still hear them all the way up. And all we could hear was Arsenal fans going off and sirens buzzing. And it was, we probably got out at the right time, but it was brilliant. And all the way home on the roads, you could hear Arsenal, you could hear in Manchester car horns going off, and it was brilliant. And it was great to be part of that night. And I think everyone who was there probably felt the same. And as Gav mentioned earlier, it's going to be something we'll remember for the rest of our lives.
Exactly. And so afterwards we had the news, we've avoided Liverpool and we will be playing either Reading or Bradford. And this is a group question. Who would you prefer? Gav, we'll start with you.
Don't give a fuck. We'll beat both of them.
So it doesn't matter to you. It doesn't matter.
Not really bothered. Don't. The only if one club could promise to take less tickets, I would say that, just so that less Arsenal supporters who go games regularly don't miss out rather on going. So I could say if it's the case of Reading are not likely to sell their full allocation, or Bradford aren't likely to sell all their allocation, I'd pick one of them. But on the pitch, it don't matter, does it? I mean, whoever it is, we've got comfortably enough to roll them over.
Yeah, you would certainly think so. Bradford a couple of years back away and is still fairly fresh in my mind. That one still hurts a little bit. But Andrew?
I think just for like Gav, it doesn't really matter. Bring it on. Let's we got the ability to beat both of those teams on that day. Touchwood, obviously, I know we lost to Bradford a couple of years ago, but I think for their fans, I'd love to see Bradford get to Wembley. I know that the year they knocked us out, they went and got absolutely spanked by Swansea in the final, which was a bit of a shame. And for the sheer fact, they went and knocked Chelsea out this year as well in one of the one of the best turnarounds we've seen in the FA Cup. The little club going and beating the big giant. I think it'd be great for their set of fans. It's a great day out. We obviously enjoyed Wembley 3 times last summer, and I think the Bradford their team deserve it. Obviously, depending on whether they beat Reading, I think it'd be great for them. And in the final, I'd love to play Liverpool, just to pull their pants down on Steven Gerrard's last game, just to get our own back for when Michael Owen, sucker punched us right at the end in 2001 after Honcho handballed it. I think it'd be a fantastic final. 2 of the biggest clubs in English football history. Great day out at Wembley. So yeah, that's what I'd like to see.
No, very well said. And finally, UK.
I'm not really too worried. I think, we can beat them both on the day. Bradford, because I don't know, I quite like Bradford, so I think I'd like to see them. But either way, we'll beat whoever we meet and meet Liverpool in the final and win that as well. So I don't mind.
No, or we could do a little bit of a podcast collaboration with the Bantam's Banter Boys. They won the FBAs before we did the year before, and we're very good friends, constantly swapping messages on Twitter. And we'd kind of hoped for maybe this day to come along so we could kind of do something jointly. So I think watch this space if it is Bradford. But equally, if it is Reading, I mean, we've had some great ding-dongs with them in the past couple of years, haven't we? If you remember, there was a couple of very, very high-scoring games. So, either way, it's going to be a good game, whoever we play. Another fun day out at Wembley, and let's hope we play Liverpool in the final. Would you like Liverpool in the final, Gav?
Again, like I say, I mean, like Andrew said, I was there in 01 in Cardiff when we absolutely pissed all over them. They had a couple of dodgy handballs, one on the line, and then that bloody Michael Owen, one of the world's worst commentators, robbed us at the end. And that was a horrible night after that game. It really was. Yeah, so I mean, just purely for getting revenge on them from that, then yeah, them, and I don't particularly like Liverpool supporters. To me, they're one step below Tottenham supporters. I've never liked Liverpool supporters. I mean, anybody that was watching football in the 70s and 80s know just how insufferable their fans are, and how horrible, absolutely crap winners they are, and they've got no dignity or anything. I just can't stand them. But then Villa supporters, they're not much better either. Still harping on about a time when they won a fucking cup in Europe. So I'll be happy. I'll be overjoyed if we win it. Absolutely overjoyed. And I hate Liverpool and I hate Villa, but so it don't really matter who we bloody play as long as we beat them.
I mean, what I'd say to that is, I was very much, I don't know about you, Gav, but when we got drawn against Man U in the Cup, was it they knocked out Peterborough, didn't they? Am I right? Or was it Preston North End? One of those, I think it might have been Preston North End.
Preston, yeah.
Yeah, and Preston were winning at one point, and lots of Arsenal fans, started moaning about how, well, fuck me, we've got Man United in the Cup. That's it, we're out. We might as well kiss another trophyless, might as well say goodbye to another trophyless season. I thought, actually, no, the big games are, the big cup games are the ones which, I look forward to. I know obviously maybe different in the Champions League because we get spanked black and blue by Barca and Bayern most years. But when you go up to somewhere like Old Trafford and you win the way we did, that feeling after the game is so much more than if you go, and no disrespect to Preston, but winning away at Old Trafford 2-1 the way we did is probably going to mean a lot more to a lot of people and the players than getting a routine 2 or 3-0 win away at Preston. And likewise, a final to go out there and obviously Liverpool, if we would get them theoretically, would give us a bloody good game, especially the form they're in, and there is a chance they'd beat us. We saw them turn us over last year, but if we could go to Wembley and beat Liverpool in a final, that'll be so memorable. Remember when we beat Chelsea last year? Sorry, not last year. When we beat Chelsea in 2003, 2004, the 2-0, the Freddie Ljungberg goal and the Ray Parlour goal. Games like that stick in your mind more than what, say, for example, unfortunately, the year after. Yeah, and that was just, as I said, I remember. Actually, you mentioned about the horrible night against Liverpool. I remember coming out of the stadium against Liverpool, and there's just a big group of Valley boys, Jace was probably down there, just looking for trouble with whoever came out, and there's a load of trouble in Cardiff City Centre. Plastic chairs started flying between the Valley boys and the Arsenal fans, and it was such a shit way home, such a shit drive home. And then the year later, it was completely opposite. We were all singing the Freddie Ljungberg song. People with no hair, people with long hair, people with spiky hair, had some kind of red mohawk in the hair. And everyone in Cardiff was just completely jubilant, weren't they? Because we just beat Chelsea. Yeah. And if we do that obviously last year it was similar because it was our first trophy in so long. But so it was such a and the way we did it in the last minute, in the dying minutes. But to go out there and to beat Liverpool in an FA Cup final at Wembley. It would just be huge for the club, for the fans, and for the players. And I'd much rather play Liverpool in the final than Villa. We'd have less assurances, and we wouldn't be as much the favourite, although I still think we would be. But to go out there and beat them would just be something else, wouldn't it?
Do you think it means more if it's against a bigger club? I mean, let's not take anything away from the fact that we won the FA Cup last year against Hull. Even whether I say scraped that or not is another different thing. But to win it against Liverpool, someone that we've had years and years of history with, to do it against them, does that mean more for you, Kate?
No, I think the FA Cup's got a magic. Oh, excuse me. So got a magic that it doesn't matter who you play, how big or small or what league they are, it's still just as magical whoever, because you can never tell the result on the day. And we've seen it in the past where we've been beaten by a lower league team, and it can happen.
Birmingham. Well, not lower league, but a lesser team.
Well, yeah, and I mean, obviously you do get the magic with Liverpool, but nah, if it is who it is.
And you boys, would it mean more to you if it was Liverpool in contrast to someone like Hull?
No, I mean, the main thing is winning it, isn't it? I mean, that's the main thing. We're in a position where we've got a very good chance of going on and winning back-to-back FA Cups, which is an absolutely amazing achievement. And it don't matter who you beat. It just matters that you win on the day, and it don't matter who you're playing. I mean, obviously against Liverpool or Villa, I mean they're both big clubs. I mean you've got to think, look, Villa have won the FA Cup, I think it's something like 6 or 7 times. Right, they haven't won it since I think it's the 50s or whatever, but Villa have always been up there with one of the, the clubs that's won the FA Cup the most times. So, and Villa are, before multi-billionaire owners come into football, Villa were one of the big 5 clubs.
Mm.
So, you can't really knock that and can't really knock their history. But like I say, I don't care who we play. Do you know what I mean? The important thing is, getting through the semi-final and then, turning up on the day of the final and winning the bloody thing.
Yeah, of course. Right, we will move on then. And tonight's show is very much a game of 2 halves. So now we've talked about that great game on Monday, we'll go over to Andrew and Kate, because, as I said earlier, Danny has a poorly body. So we'll go over to Andrew and Kate, who have the best of the Twitter and Facebook questions for this week. Andrew, would you like to start us off, please?
Yeah, no, happily. The first question is from. These questions have come through to our Facebook page, which is very kindly monitored by yourself, Gimli, by Jason, especially, and Chris. And so, first question comes in from James Lee. James asks, every time you talk about the Ox in the podcast, you always say what a good shot he has. Am I the one who thinks this is actually one of the only areas he needs to work on? This is not a bash on the Ox. I love the way he's playing. Maybe everyone else sees something I don't, but 3 goals and 36. ...
That's a very good point. He has got a hell of a shot on him, because I've seen that he's got a hell of a shot on him. But I think playing in a team that's so attacking, maybe he doesn't get the chance to pull those shots off enough. I don't know. Arsenal have never been renowned for shooting outside the box a lot, have they? So maybe you put it down to that. I don't know.
Sure. And then I've got one here, which would be quite good to actually give. It's from Grant Hearn. And so Grant says, 1 victory over a very poor United side shouldn't cloud our judgment on all performances this season. We still haven't performed consistently all season. Do you think we have the strongest squad that Wenger has assembled? If I think he means if yes, why aren't we winning in every fight in even fighting for the league?
Well, I don't think this is the strongest squad he's ever had. There's still weaknesses in the squad, and we just didn't get out the traps at the beginning of the year. I mean, obviously, I'm well known for the fact, like I said in the summer, that we haven't got enough defenders, and I was laughed at only for us to not have enough defenders. So yeah, I mean, I think really this season, with the change of style that Wenger's bringing in, whether it's from himself or whether it's from the players or whether it's from any other coaches at the club or whatever, he's going to take a while of getting used to for everybody.
Sure.
So I just think it's for the league. Like I say, the league was lost before it was even bloody started this year. The Monaco home game really screwed us, and that aside, we haven't played consistently well all year. So I still think there's a bit of fine-tuning. Again, something I said in the summer was Wenger's major issue this year is with the talent that we've got up front and in the midfield is what combination works right. And it turned out that a shitload of injuries and getting Coquelin back off of his loan as a complete emergency has been sort of like the catalyst for better performances. So, like I say, luck or judgment, you can honestly think, know where I'm coming on that one. But yeah, like I say, we've got all the makings there. We're still a couple of players light for challenging for the title. But like I say, if we go on and win the FA Cup, then that is a successful season.
Sure. Okay. And then I guess one for all of you guys. I'll bring it to, and it's kind of going to fuse 2 questions into one. So AJ, who's from the Arsenal in My Blood podcast, says hey, and he just wants to say keep up with the good work at ABW. It's still the best pod he listens to. So cheers for AJ.
AJ's a top man, by the way, a top man.
There you go, AJ, and the kind words have been returned to you there from Gimli. So AJ says, should we concede the loss to Monaco by playing a slightly weaker side in the return leg? And he's put here, for example, Rosicky, Chambers, Flamini, Walcott, etc. and so to give them a rest for the game against Newcastle on the weekend. And similarly, Sadia Akram asks, who would you start against Monaco up front? Would you go for Giroud or Welbeck? And then who do you reckon Wenger is going to start? And when do you think Wenger's going to start Theo? And maybe if all of you guys could maybe give a kind of a prediction on what you think the team's going to be and how you think Wenger will play it in terms of potential restings with big games coming up.
I can start on that one. I don't think he'll change the team too much. I think he'll still go out to Monaco hoping that he can get a result, because I think that if he doesn't, then he's going to get slated by most of the fan base if he goes out there and picks a second-rate team and we go out and lose 2 or 3-0 again. Can we do it? Different story. I think my head probably says no, we can't, but my heart says, you get 2 goals early in the first half. There's every chance that you can go on and do it. Let's be honest. We're playing some good football. We're coming off the back of a good result. Our tails should be up. We should be able to do it. And to answer the Welbeck one, I think Giroud had a bit of a rest in midweek. He should be fresh for that one. He's a Frenchman playing against a French team. He probably knows more about Monaco than some of the lads in the team. I think he'll lead the line for us. We might possibly see Welbeck and Giroud. You never know, but I think he'll put a strong team out for it. Definitely.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. I think he'll play Giroud up front, but I do think he'll keep the team pretty much the same.
I think, like I say, we're in a position now where he can sort of rotate and hopefully rest a couple of players here, there, and everywhere. Really. Like I say, Theo's more likely to get on the pitch now that Ox is going to be out for a couple of weeks or a couple of games or whatever. So yeah, like I say, going forwards and like the attacking lineup, we've really not got much of a problem in pulling somebody out and putting somebody else back in. It's like I say, it's the position that a club like Arsenal should be in. It's as simple as that.
And I think the fact that Alexis wants to play every single game. I can't see him wanting to sit out a Champions League game.
No,
either,
but it'd be wise, like I say. With Alexis, for example, it'd be wise if we hopefully get off to a good start against the Whammers at the weekend. If we get a couple of goals up, take him off at 65 minutes. Take him off with half hour to go. Rest him up for the Monaco game, and we've got to be going out there knowing and hoping and being confident that we can stick 3 goals in the net. They've got to be thinking like that. The players have got to be thinking that positively, and they've got to be set up to go for it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's complete shit or bust. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Anyway,
okay.
Go on.
Fair enough. So then we got four questions. So Theo is a hot topic at the moment. Jamie Parker, Alan Wiseman, Arsenal First, and Omar Hassan Khan. Very similar questions all coming in here. And what is the reason behind Theo's lack of game time? People here are alluding to the fact: is it because we have players who offer more to the team, or is it actually down to the kind of the contractual situation? At Arsenal, obviously we know Theo put us under a lot of pressure a couple of years ago. Is this Wenger, is this Wenger now? He's got stronger players in the squad. Is this the reason? Is he not picking them now because of what happened before, and he's doing the same again? On that, Omar's kind of asking. His question is, considering the Ox's injury, would you rather see Ozil be played out wide and then Ramsey back in the middle, as was done in the second half, or would you like to see Theo put out wide? And so maybe Kate, if you would like to answer that one first, it'd be good to hear what you've got to say.
Theo, I don't think he's playing. I don't think it's because of all that contract crap, because I don't think Wenger's like that. But I think he's just not match fit. And who do you swap out to put Theo in? The team as a team is playing fairly well right now. Why change it? But I would like to see Ozil through the middle, obviously, as we all would. Maybe Theo on the wing, Ozil through the middle. It's not going to happen, but we can always dream.
How about yourself, Gav? What's your kind of premonition on why Theo's not playing so much? Is it because, is it the contractual reason? Is it because he's not only, he's only recently back from injury? Is it because, the Ox is a stronger player? What's your feelings? Well, at the start of the pod, I think you said you were slightly miffed that he didn't start against Man U, didn't you?
Yeah, like I say, I was sort of thinking really that if we're going to set up as a counter-attacking team and hit him with a bit of pace, I was quite miffed that he didn't start. The only reason I can think of him not starting and not playing at the moment is either his confidence or his fitness, or probably a bit of a mixture of two. Because I mean, he did get a serious injury. Did put him out for about a year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's from
I think it was 13 months.
The last week. It was the first week of January, wasn't it? Last year we played Tottenham in the FA Cup.
Yeah. So I mean, like I say, he was out for a long time, and Theo's a player. He's a confidence player, and maybe he's showing in training that his confidence ain't there. Maybe he's showing that he's not up to speed physically. I don't think it's a contract thing, because Wenger's always played players right the way up, and then they've walked out on us in the summer anyway. So I don't think it's going to be that. Like I say, I just don't think Wenger fancies him much at the moment. But like I say, we've got options. I mean, we can play Welbeck down the right. I mean, we can play Alexis down the right. There's so many different options that we've got with our attacking lineup at the moment that we don't really need to sort of risk playing a player that is physically or mentally not up to the challenge at the moment.
Sure. Gimli, question for you. Jake Callan asks, would third place and the FA Cup be deemed a successful season?
I think after our start to the season, I think you've got to say, yeah, probably. I don't think you can forget that there were many people not tipping us to even do top four this season. So to get above fourth and to defend a trophy that you won in the previous year, like Gav said earlier in the podcast, I think you got to count that as a successful year. Any trophy you win, it's always got to be classed as a success. You can't take that away from the team, not at all.
Yeah, cool. I mean, to elaborate on my point earlier, I mean, it's a success league-wise. We've had a shocker this year, and there's no difference really if we finish second, third, or fourth. The only reason it matters to finish fourth or above is for the Champions League and the money. But we're not really. Are we really competing for the Champions League? But there's always hope that next year we might. But like I say, if you win the FA Cup, it's got to be counted as being quite, being a successful season, isn't it? I mean, it's only four trophies for everybody to go for at the beginning of the year. If you get one of them, that's a success.
Yeah, no, exactly. I agree with you that. I do.
Okay.
Right, can we have some questions from Kate?
You can. Again, we've got along the very long same lines as Facebook. We've got a lot about the starting lineup for Monaco. This one, again, is at _Mike Neat, who says what is defined as a good season. But we've probably just covered that one. Bruce _Guna says, although Gabriel was bought in January, do we need another centre-back in the summer after us being linked with Subotic? Andrew.
Should we go in for Subotic in the summer? Sorry, Kate, you say?
Yes. Do we need another centre-back in the summer?
I mean, I haven't seen enough of Gabriel to really comment on whether I think he's ready. I know there's been a lot of questions raised by people on whether he's his English is good enough now to settle into the team, whether he's got sufficient experience in major European leagues to be ready, and that's something an analysis very much for someone like Arsene Wenger and Steve Moulds to come to. I really would be lying if I tried to give an honest appraisal on him. But I don't think there's any harm in having strength and depth in the team. When we were winning titles, when we've been winning titles, we've always had a long-standing history for having a wealth of experience and just bodies in defence. Even when we had Tony Adams and Sol Campbell, we always had someone like Martin Keown in reserve. We've always had that quality. So whether the signing of Gabriel should deter from us from buying another centre back, I don't think it should. Obviously, they have to bear in mind that Wenger's probably looking at Callum Chambers as a long-term kind of option in that position, and we know Wenger's sensitivity towards not curtailing young players and their future careers at Arsenal. But if there is someone who comes on the market and a serious world-class centre back, with, unfortunately, with Mertesacker at that kind of age, and some of his performances not been as they were last year, I don't think we shouldn't, turn up that opportunity when we've got the kind of money in the bank we do. So, I wouldn't say that a centre-back is our number one priority. I want us to get a holding midfielder, and a world-class holding midfielder like a Pogba or, maybe not Schneiderlin as world-class, but, someone who's of that quality. But if one comes our way, I don't think the club should sniff their noses at it.
No, this is a good point. The next one is a bit of a comedy one, and I'm going to give it to Gav. It's from Peter, who is at Guna1947. He says, can I ask anything? Thoughts on crop rotation in the 14th century?
Yeah, really, the way they've done it is with crop rotation. The whole basis is to make sure that the actual earth that the crops are growing in stays fresh. So in the 14th century, what they tend to do is have one field that they let the cows shit on for one season, and another field where they used to grow the wheat, and a third field where they used to grow the barley. And what they used to do is swap it round. So every third year, one of these fields weren't used for crops. It was actually used for the cows shitting on it. And it worked quite well.
I see. I knew I made the right choice given that one.
I actually think that was a top quality answer because I didn't have a Scooby about that one.
Yeah, well, ask me one on fucking sport, will you?
This could be the ABW agricultural section.
Green fingers. The next one is from Omar_Motaz, whose question is Ospina a title-winning goalkeeper? If not, who is? Taking into account that person is realistically available, Gimli.
Is he a title-winning keeper? I don't think we've necessarily seen the best of Ospina so far. I think he's been hampered with injuries. I think if he had a good 10-15 run go in the team, I think you could then judge him more fairly. Do I think we need another keeper? That's a tough one. Yes, but only if it's a world-class keeper. To get someone of the same likes of Szczesny and Ospina, just, someone that, will play first-team football but necessarily is taking a step up to come to your club, I don't think that would necessarily benefit the team, because I think we should take into account that Emiliano Martinez got the makings of an extremely good keeper, if not a couple of years off, but what we've seen this season would certainly be enough to warrant sticking with him. So I'd say at the moment the jury's out as to whether we have a title-winning keeper, but unless the right man came along in the summer, no, I wouldn't strengthen with one.
Okay, the next one's from at Guna Writer, who's Hamza. He says, how long will it take for Welbeck to become world-class if you think he has that potential, Gav?
Sorry, the dog's screeching. What was that?
How long? Yeah, I apologise. They're fighting. How long will it take for Welbeck to become world-class if you think he has that potential?
He'll be good enough to play for England. If he's played regularly, he'll get between 10 and 15 goals a season for us. He's never going to be an Henry or an Ian Wright. If he's lucky, if we're lucky, he'll be like a Wiltord. Come on, does his job, scores the odd important goal, fucks up. But, you're not going to ever... There's never going to be a question where, you have to actually even really debate this to whether or not he's going to become world-class, because he's not. But he's a very, very high standard. He's a top four of the Premier League player. But, he's not going to be the sort of player that's going to win a country the World Cup or win a team, the Champions League.
Okay. Next one is from Mo, who is at Guna for Life 96. He says, has Callum Chambers become a bit stale after Montero destroying him at right back? He doesn't seem to be picked at right back or centre back anymore. Andrew.
Mo. Good question, Mo. I don't want to be that guy. And I've never liked being critical of Arsenal players, especially young ones. But I've kind of been very sceptical of Chambers from the start, and that's not me criticising his ability by any stretch. But I've made it vocal on every time I've been on this pod and we discussed him that I don't think he's ready for Arsenal yet. in terms of the kind of the number of times that we've played him. As Gavin mentioned earlier, you know, I remember Gav and we were speaking on the transfer deadline day pod about, you know, the complete lack of paucity in the defence. And, you know, people were laughing, weren't they, when I kind of said that actually Monreal will probably be the fourth choice centre back, because we can't expect to see another one come in. And, you know, fair play to Monreal, he did well there. But Chambers, as was kind of until Gabriel came in, was the third choice centre back. He was at times, you know, the second choice right back before Bellerin kind of stepped up. And the number of times he's played for Arsenal has been huge. When you look at the kind of last season, he wasn't even Southampton's number one right back at the start of the season. And I know he did well in the end, but he's still a very inexperienced defender. A lot of his game time from Southampton and at Arsenal was predominantly at right back. We've moved him over to centre back. And we saw it in his early days at Arsenal. You know, in the first few games, he did impress in the sense that, you know, he was quite commanding, made good tackles. Okay, his technique isn't at the level it should be yet, which will come. But we did see big errors, especially at centre back, in his positioning. And that's not me criticising him. You know, he's still a young lad who's being moved to centre back, where it's not his natural position. So he needs a lot of time to learn, you know, the art of defending. He needs people around him like Steve Bold, you know, showing him where he needs to be moving in accordance to, you know, his defenders around him, in line with what the strikers are doing, because he got caught out several times, you know, against Man City 2 or 3 times. In the cup final against Everton away, he was destroyed slightly. We brought him on against Leicester away, and he looked very shaky. And you know, I do think he's a good player, but he's certainly got a lot to learn, and that's not a bash on him. You know, he's a young lad who's not played in that position, and so he needs that time to learn to adapt. And I think he's been thrown into the deep end too much this season, partly because, you know, of injuries, and also partly because we lacked a lot of depth in that squad, in that area of the squad at the start of the season. And I think, you know, we're starting to see him suffer slightly for it. I think a getaway against Liverpool. It was one of the kind of the worst performances I've seen from him. He was, you know, he wasn't even in the right areas when he was going up to head the ball, for example. You know, he was 5 meters ahead of where he anticipated. He was 5 meters, anticipating 5 meters ahead of where the ball landed for simple headers and stuff like that. And that just isn't, you know, that isn't right. And I think he needs a little bit of time away from the first team, you know, time just focusing on his game, listening to, you know, the experience around him, training with Koscielny, training with Steve Bold. And I think the club, you need to give him that bit of break. And with Gabriel in the team and Bellerin having stepped up now, hopefully he'll get that respite, and we'll see him come back in next season. You know, I still want him in and around the squad, but I'm glad now we've got that little bit more depth, that we don't have to rely on bringing in Chambers. Not because I don't rate him and I don't think he's going to be a good player one day for us. I just feel he needs more time to learn.
I'll add to that as well, Andrew. When he signed, I don't think anyone really expected him, or it wasn't expected by Arsene Wenger to come in and play, you know, 30 games a season. I think in his debut season for Southampton, he only managed something like 21, 24 appearances. If it wasn't for the unlucky injury that Debussy had, he probably wouldn't have got any game time at all. I think we've also got to remember as well that, his first year at Arsenal, he's already been called up to the England national team and played. So he's done an awful lot in his first year. He's making mistakes, schoolboy error mistakes. I think, as Gav has alluded to on this podcast before, when he first signed and everybody was saying how good he is, he agreed, but he said that he was still making maybe 2 or 3 mistakes a game, whether that was getting the wrong side of a player or holding on to a shirt and giving away niggly fouls, picking up silly yellow cards, things like that. He will be a good player. People that are likening him to Tony Adams in his first season, absolute bollocks. He's got a long way to go. He will be a great player, but just get off his back, give him some time, and he'll get there. He's in the right place. He's at the right club to be the best. So let's just give him some time. Andrew, if you wanted to hit us with 3 more Facebook questions, then we'll take 3 more from Twitter and Kate, and then we'll do some shout-outs, predictions, and then done.
All righty then. So let's find 3 questions from. I just want to say thank you. As I mentioned earlier, there was 21 Facebook questions come in this week. So, you know, you really hit us with your rhythm stick, and you know, obviously, really proud and happy that you guys sent us so many. So one of the other main themes which has come in this week, guys, is all about the cock. and I don't mean Jace, I mean Coquelin. So free questions are coming, I think.
In his mouth.
So, so Matthew Tomic, Christ, is a bit of a posh name, isn't it, for the pod? Michael Robert George Bullbeck.
It's our mate Harry Ballbag.
Oh, is it? And Mark
No,
Lewis.
seriously. He tweeted me the other day, and he said, "I said to him, I apologise if you caused any offence from when I called you Harry Robert James Ballbag." And he said, "No." He said, "I pissed myself laughing." So a big shout out to Harry Ballbag, and thank you.
Is that hyphenated Ballbag?
Yes, it is. It's a hyphenated Ballbag.
Okay, just checking.
It's nice to be sure.
Yeah, that was quite the mouthful of a name for a question about cock. And Mark Lewis also. They all ask, roughly, can the cock be a long-term solution? Is cock the answer? Is the answer? Do we need for our DM? Is it nice that Arteta and Flamini have not been mentioned for a while due to the cock's efforts, which is great. Do you chaps? Oh, it is all passionate. Do you chaps expect Schneiderlin? Well, he's put a Schneiderlin or even a Schneiderlin himself to come in the summer, or a competitor alternative. What's your guys on the cock so far? Coquelin, not Jace. And do you think that we'll go out in the summer and buy a world class or any kind of defensive midfielder? Or has Coquelin, proven enough of a point to Wenger that we don't need to spend? What's your thoughts, Gav?
I think we're going to buy a Schneiderlin in the summer. I'll be very, very shocked if we don't. I think, but like I say, it's something that I say all the time. It's down to players when they get given the opportunity and given the chance to play in an Arsenal shirt to prove that they deserve to wear that shirt for the next game. And Coquelin's doing that. Do you know what I mean? He's putting in decent performances. Obviously, we're looking at them as being decent performances because we really haven't played with a player of his type in the team for quite some years now. So he's standing out because, Arteta is not and never will be a defensive midfielder. Flamini is a second-tier defensive midfielder who thinks he's an attacking midfielder. And so, like I say, to actually have somebody who's dedicated to that role and being allowed to be, a defensive midfielder in the team that we're playing at the moment makes him stand out more. But like I say, I think there'll be a midfielder. I do think Wenger will bring in someone in. I do think it'll be Schneiderlin in the summer. And like I say, I think there'll be a few chops and changes this summer, really, with regards to our midfield. I really do. I think looking at the new contract that Arteta got was a huge mistake. And like I say, someone younger is going to sort of be ended up out the other way, I think.
No, and I guess that's a fair point you make there, Gav. It's not just about Coquelin, is it? It's there's going to be, as you mentioned or kind of alluded to, wholesale changes potentially in midfield with Arteta and Flamini. It's not just necessarily the case of bringing in one midfielder. It might be more so than one. I mean, what about yourself, Kate and Gav? Kate and Gim. Specifically on that main role, that starting position next season, the one that kind of sits behind Arteta, sits behind Ramsey. Do you see Coquelin being the main man next year? Aside from what will happen to Arteta and Flamini, or do you see Wenger going out and splashing the cash? As we've seen 2 summers ago with Ozil and last summer with Sanchez, is that going to be finally the focus point for Arsenal? Are we finally going to get kind of the person we've been screaming out for years, or has Coquelin done enough?
I'll let Kate take that one.
I personally think he'll go out and buy, but he'll have Coquelin in his plans. I think he'll probably see Coquelin as a bit young to be our leading role in that position. But no, I think we'll get a Schneiderlin. And we've all been calling for a Schneiderlin, so we shouldn't really be too upset if he does go out and buy him. It's just, like you said on one of your previous questions, strength in depth.
What about yourself, Gimli?
I think I'll agree with that. I think like Gavin Kate, I'd be very surprised if he didn't go out and buy Schneiderlin in the summer. I think they do need to go out and buy somebody else. I think Schneiderlin is the perfect man to do the job that we need. Coquelin, he's doing a fantastic job, and you can't knock him. And the one thing with me that I really like with him is just the passion that he shows on the pitch. I mean, did you see how much those goals at Old Trafford meant to him? I mean, he was celebrating as mad as the crowd was. And I think that's really refreshing to see. You can see he's kind of got that Arsenal way about him with the way he passes. The loan out did him a fantastic job. You can't argue that he was bought back purely because he had to be. Because there was no one else. So the fact that he's there and he's doing what he's doing at the moment is luck, because otherwise he would probably have been sold. But I think as a player,
they wanted to sell him, didn't they? They couldn't sell him in the summer.
No.
That's why he went on loan, because he was under contract and nobody wanted to buy him.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, he wouldn't even have been here over other circumstances, and it was just that we had nobody else. But you can't fault the job that he's done and the passion that he shows for the team, and he'll be a very, very capable standing defensive midfielder to a Schneiderlin when he comes in, because those players are prone to injuries. So, we'll see what happens in the summer, but I think, he will bring somebody else in.
Cool. And then one question, slightly left field, from one little cheeky bugger called Chris Hoppy Hopkins. If you had one question you could ask Wenger, what would it be? Kate?
Why do you play Ozil wide when we can all see that that's not his best position?
Okay, I'd ask him why he can't make a substitute before the 60th minute.
I'd ask him what pictures has the RB got of him for him to have kept the RB for this fucking long.
That's always Gav, the massive Diaby fan. Is that the 3, Andrew?
Well, that was 2 there, but I think the first one we went on for quite a bit. I mean, happy to ask some more, or if not, happy to round up.
Go on, do one more. Let's have one more.
Go on then. So a couple of questions have come in around Ozil as well, or Ozil, depending on how you want to pronounce his name. He did so many good things against Man United, says Nicholas Faisal, but the media apparently didn't see it that way. Will they ever get off his back? It seems to Nicholas like he has to score or make assists every single time he has the ball, or else they'll criticise him. Do you? Basically, I guess taking or rounding up that question on Ozil's performance, do you think the press gave him a hard time after the game? Was he? I haven't really read too much about him.
Yes.
Is that kind of so? You don't think he got the praise he deserves, or
no? In a way, right? You've got 2 players, and I will liken him to Angel Di Maria. You've got Mesut Ozil, who he does assist players. He does score the odd goal now and again. I think the thing about Ozil, unless you're watching him for the whole game, you don't necessarily understand what he does. I mean, it's fair enough to go, oh, this is how much he's run, but any player can run. It's what he does with the ball and off the ball. I think he's a very good player, and I think that it shows, and what really shows it up is the fact that Di Maria is having an absolute torrid time for his first season in England, and the papers just aren't picking it up. Where Ozil wasn't having a terrible time, he was having a bad time. He was struggling to adapt to our style of football, but he wasn't having a terrible time. He was still picking up assists and goals along the way, whereas Di Maria hasn't, and he isn't getting the stick in the papers that Ozil is. So I think you've maybe got to look at that one and think, that's your template as to what's going on here. I think it's very Arsenal and Mesut Ozil bias.
Interesting. And that kind of concludes, I guess, unless obviously Kate or Gav, is there anything you want to add to Gimli's wise words there?
No, I think
go on, sorry, Kate.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think he's covered it.
I was just going to say that Ozil kind of he divides a lot of people's views. I mean, I've got some mates who think for £42 million we should be seeing more match-winning performances out of him than we're actually getting. And I've got some mates that think that he's doing a great job, and he's really getting a hard time by the press for it, and the truth's probably somewhere down the middle. He's doing okay, but for 42 million quid, should he be doing a bit better? So I think the jury's out on there. I certainly hope that there's a lot more to come from him, and hopefully with this formation that we played against Man United and Man City and how we set out, hopefully that will we'll get the best out of him. I think. I really do think he'll get the best out of him. I don't think we've seen anywhere near the best of Ozil yet, and I guess that's the disappointing bit at the moment. Look, we know he's got another gear, but we just want to see it more.
Fair enough. And just before we round up, actually, hot off the press, I'm being told by the main correspondent, Raj Patel, that David Luiz has just scored a header against Chelsea. He's actually celebrated the goal, funny enough.
Oh, he went mental.
And apparently he's now being booed by the Chelsea fans. So there you go.
He did. He went absolutely mental. He ran around the pitch and ran to the back. And you know when he goes down on his knees and points to the sky? He did that.
Didn't Chelsea sell him for 50 million or so?
Yeah.
Who cares? It's only fucking Chelsea. Can't.
Does that? No, that means it's going to extra time, doesn't it? Yeah.
Buying a 7-0 up.
A 7-0 up. Jesus.
7-0 up.
Have you got any more Twitter questions for us, Kate?
I have. I've got one from Bruce_Guna. He said, with clubs circling, how important is it we keep hold of Santi? Would you sell for 25 million, Gimli?
No. I think what Santi gives us is another dimension, and when he steps it up and he plays well, he is one of the best players on the park. For me, he's invaluable. I know he's coming up to the later years of his career, and Arsenal of old would have probably cashed him in, but I don't think money-wise we're in the situation where we have to anymore, so fuck it, why should we?
No, I agree. What do you boys think? Would you sell Santi for 25 million in the summer?
No.
Andrew?
He's worth more than he's worth more than that. The way he's playing at the moment, like I say, as I said earlier, it'd be hard pressed if you don't get. Do you know what I mean? He's one of the top 3 players. If he's not in the top 3 of Player of the Year, then the people that vote with it need their fucking eyes tested.
Yeah, I agree with Gav on that. Well, I mean, as we alluded to earlier in the pod, he's so versatile that why would you sell a player who's one of your best right wingers, one of your best left wingers, one of your best number 10s, and one of your best central midfielders all in one for 25 million? Makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. He's experienced and he's just sheer quality. And he's been fantastic ever since he joined the club. And I think when we signed him back a couple of seasons ago, he was a revelation in that team because we just lost Van Persie and we had a real lack of quality at that time. You know, with people like Gervinho falling over their feet. He came to the club, took a huge leap of faith, with Wenger and kind of what we and the standard we had at that time. And it's all slowly kind of falling into place now. But he was the one main signing on that first season he had. And he's still just a quality player. I think it'd be madness to get rid of him.
Okay, thank you. And my next question is from Carl, who is that _London_guy, and he says, is it right that they've only given our fans reported 31,000 tickets for the semi-final? Gav, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, you just might as well read everybody's tweets from this time last year. It's going to be the same old bollocks, same old people moaning at it, probably me included. And nothing will change. It just is what it is. Do you know what I mean? I'm like I say, this subject's only come up today, and I'm fucking bored of it already. A load of people put out a load of comments to get themselves noticed and get themselves in the press and blah blah blah, and then don't follow it up with anything. It's just talking for the sake of fucking talking. Some of them, but it's just how it is with the FA. The FA have got this big shiny stadium to pay for, so you've got all these people that have got Club Wembley tickets that get a ticket, and then they give X amount of tickets to the football family, which is little bungs and payoffs for people that run lower league football clubs, and in the end they just hand them out or sell them to whoever wants to go to that game in their club or their association. And then we'll get exactly the same as what the other club we're playing at, even though we've probably got 4 times more season ticket holders and 10 times more members. And it's just how it is until somebody actually does something about it, until somebody actually puts everybody gets together and puts a decent argument towards the FA, this will just carry on and carry on and carry on as it has done the last fucking 30, 40 years. I'm bored of it. I could probably talk for the subject for about half hour, but it just bores me, the fact that everybody wants to talk about things and nobody wants to fucking get off their arse and do things. Do you know what I mean? I mean, me and various other people, I won't embarrass them by naming them, have tried to do lots of good work over ticket prices and things over the past 4 or 5 years, and gets limited support. People are okay to do a bit of typing on Twitter or Facebook or have a little moan to their mates, but a lot of people, when it actually comes down to sort of putting your face and putting your feet in a particular place to do something about it, then they don't. So the whole ticket thing just bores me these days. I do apologise.
No, that's quite right.
It's what it is.
It just is what it is. We'll get screwed and that'll be it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we could be playing fucking, I don't know, we could be playing Leyton Orient, who have got 4,000 season ticket holders, and the FA would still give them the option of selling 31,000 tickets before we actually get a share of the unsold tickets. The FA don't care. It's like at Arsenal. The FA don't care as long as they've got enough bums on seats. The FA don't care that Arsenal have got, 35,000 season ticket holders and another 80,000 red and silver members and junior gunners, and they won't care whether blokes, have been sitting in a family enclosure with their kids for the whole year, can't take their kids to the semi-final. The FA don't give a fucking shit about that as long as there's bums on seats. It's as simple as that. Go on, change the subject before I fucking really go off on one.
Okay. I've got one last question then. Oh, we have had a load of questions in, mostly based around the same subjects, but thank you to everyone who sent them in. Sorry, we've not got time to answer them all. So the last one is from Anders B, who is at Swedish_bastard. And his question is 2-1 up with minutes to go and Chambers overlapping deep in United's half. 7 players attacking, etc., etc. Why? Gimli.
Why? Because I think sometimes Arsenal can be suicidal. I don't know. Is the obvious answer. But it's something that we've seen many times this season. I don't know why they've not addressed it, but it's the same kind of question as why do you have Mertesacker playing halfway in the opposition half when we're trying to attack? We get the ball nicked off of us and all of a sudden he's blowing out of his arse trying to track back. We get caught, concede a goal. Oh well. It's these silly mistakes that we never seem to learn from but keep getting punished from. There's not really a lot more you can say than that, really.
Okay. That's it for my questions. Again, a big thank you to everyone. I shall get back to you now, Gimli.
Just to jump in there, sorry, Gim. I think was slightly different. So this season we've been sucker punched a couple of times where we've been. Man U, I guess, at home, you could say, obviously they hit us on the break, and then we played suicide football and they hit us on the break again, and similar, Monaco, Dortmund last year.
We did it against Chelsea this year as well. We played at home to Tottenham, they caught us cold as well.
Although on that Chambers one, the isolation of Ainsley, what I'd say is Arsenal, Man United had been attacking Arsenal relentlessly for about 20-25 minutes. Basically, as soon as the Welbeck goal went in, they had been going hell for leather at Arsenal, and without much. Obviously, we came back with Sanchez and Cazorla both having opportunities, but even with 10 men, Man United had a lot more of the ball, and we're in comfortable possession in Arsenal's half. So I think in that particular incident, it might have been a rash moment and a rush of blood to the head where Chambers and a few others have thought, fuck it, we really need to get our own out of our own half here. Rather than being intelligent about it and holding the ball up and just playing a quick tempo of passing football to tire Man U out because they only had 10 players. It was as I think it was just a case of the fans were very agitated and nervous, and I'm sure the players were too, and they probably just thought, fuck, we need to get it into their half now and waste some time. And stupidly we saw quite a few players bomb on, to use a pretty terrible footballing phrase there. But yeah, I'd much rather have seen us, just hold the ball up, retention play it quick, kill Man U off. And when we see stuff like that, it's no wonder, the fans, are semi-suicidal at times. But I mean, yeah, and it's something you certainly hope that we'll learn on and we'll improve on in our future upcoming performances.
Yes, definitely so. We'll finish the podcast up this week then with some predictions for West Ham at home and some shout-outs. So, it's got it here that we'll start with Danny. But no, let's start with Kate.
Okay, my predictions, I think 3-1 to Arsenal. And I think Sanchez will score first.
Okay, fantastic. Gav?
Are you still doing the league thing on the predictions?
Yes, we are. It's coming up after this bit.
Oh, okay. All right then.
This is a bit. We need, just the score and the first scorer.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Cool. I'll go for 4-1, and I'll go for Giroud first goal.
Okay. Andrew?
Well, how's Danny doing in the league? Do you know, Gimli?
Oh, he's doing terribly bad.
Is he?
Yeah, he's awful.
All right.
I don't even know why he makes a prediction anymore.
Yeah, he's batshit mental. I'll give Danny's prediction for you. He's going to go 7-7. Arsene Wenger, first goal scorer. And I'm going to go 2-0 Arsenal, and I'm going to have Sanchez first goal scorer.
Okie dokie. And I'm going to go 1-0 Arsenal with Alexis first scorer. Before we do the shout-outs, Kate, you've got a brief Pirates update. It wasn't 10-0. What was it?
They didn't play. The pitch was out of bounds this week.
So they didn't lose then?
No, they didn't lose.
That's the best result they've had for a while, isn't it?
They love it when they get called off because they can't lose any points. They've got Kiam Colts Blues this week at home in the league. And I've got to squeeze something quick in. I've got to squeeze a quick fuck off Reedy into the roundup.
Okay.
And that's it for the roundup because there's no goals to tell you that were scored against them. And they obviously didn't didn't score any, but you're used to that. So that's it.
They're still not bottom of the league, are they? They're still only second bottom now. So I think Tamer View are bottom with 0 points.
Only because he's using our sponsorship money to pay off the refs.
Well, we're not even the prime sponsor on their website. Actually, they're in association. No, in association with Nova Homes.
Hold on. Well, fuck off a minute.
We're below the Eastern Eye Indian cuisine, Plymouth, Devon. Although we are above the mega brand Nike, which is good, and above Homeworks, the Lord High Admiral, and then a few others.
And their badge, which I believe is it the LA Raiders? That is his badge. I don't know.
Yeah. Nonetheless, they're not bottom of the league, so they're not going to win the wooden spoon. They're pretty comfortably second bottom. Although they have played more games, I believe, than any of their rivals. So watch this space.
Wow, that's quite some performance. We'll finish off with some shout-outs then. And I'll start off this week. I'd like to shout out Bergie Blogs, which is the Twitter's, the podcast official blog page on Twitter, and they are at the Bergie Blogs. And you'll get all the top Arsenal blogs from us and our great writers who they like to tackle all the issues head on. And we don't just like to go for game reviews. We like to pick slightly different topics that aren't usually done by other blogs and whatnot. So if you want to read of something different and a little bit refreshing and something you might not have read somewhere else, then hop over to them, give them a follow and check out their blogs. They've got, like I said, they've got some great writers over there. Gav, we'll go to you next for your shout out.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to the second biggest sports club in North London, which is the Islington Boys Club. They're on Twitter as @IslingtonABC. They're a boxing club and they run football teams from there. This week, their chairman, a gentleman called Lenny Haglan, he got an award from the Islington Mayor for Volunteer of the Year. due to all the hard work that he puts in at the boxing club and for the boys that play football and the boys and the girls that not only do competitive boxing, but they do keep fit. Give them a follow. They do 2 or 3 shows throughout the year. They do a sit-down meal one, and they do a couple at the Boston Dome. But everybody involved in that club is very proud of Lenny. Everybody at the boxing club works so hard, and at a time where you're seeing unfortunate incidents happen to youth and kids in London. If more young kids went to places like that, got more disciplined, there would be less incidents like that going on. So a big shout out to everybody at the boxing club, and congratulations to Lenny. And like I say, I don't think they'll listen, but if they do, obviously I hope your old man gets well soon. And like I say, carry on all the good work that they do there.
Very good shout out indeed. And Andrew?
Quickly one, that's a great shout out there, Gav, by the way, mate. I gave a shout out earlier to Clock in the Stand, obviously for helping not just myself but lots of other gooners find their way to the Quadrant pub over social media using various maps. That was great stuff by you. And then on a personal one, I want to give a shout out. Now, he was on the podcast last week, Mark King. He's a good guy. I believe he's been on other podcasts. He's not been happy with me in recent weeks because I actually sent out a tweet
that can't be named for legal reasons.
Where after the Monaco game, so I always tweet joking stuff about Mark, and when I sit next to him in the ground, I always start seeing him marking as a wanker and try and get people to join in. He once went for a piss on around the 70th minute, and I made a big fuss about how he was leaving early, and people started giving evil looks. And then after the Monaco game, I tweeted that he was so disgusted with the performance that he left while it was still 0-0 because he could preempt the score. And obviously a joke, and he took a barrage of abuse, and he wasn't best pleased. But the poor bugger, he drove me up to Manchester, drove me back, got home about 3:30 in the morning. It was fantastic. He took one for the team by driving us up there, and he also took one for the team. Strangely, he decided to wear one of the shittest coats I've ever seen. It was a Parker jacket, which looked like it was something from an Oasis cover in the 90s. So he went fully rogue undercover so that the locals would think we're Manx, not Londoners. So we didn't get beaten up because of this shit coat. So Mark, thank you for the lift and for your sense of fashion, mate. It was both very much appreciated.
I love my Parker. That's bad. I like my Parker. I've been sporting a Parker this winter. I love it.
I'm sure you've got a lovely Parker, Gav, a top of the range Parker. But this was not. This was a Primark Parker from the early 90s. It was disgrace. But yeah, it was fucking brilliant. We had a great day out. Very kind. And also, shout out to all the Arsenal fans who went up to the ground. Each and every one of them sung their hearts out, and they were brilliant. And and I'm sure everyone associated with the club was grateful for the support from the fans that night.
And can you confirm that he did indeed stay after half-time this game?
Well, I did joke to Mark that I was going to tweet that he was about to leave when the Rooney goal went in, and then because he was driving, I was going to phone up TalkSport and pretend to be Mark King and talk about my disgust at the performance. But no, I can confirm he did stay into the end, although probably not because out of choice. He probably wanted to leave, but the security wouldn't leave him. No, Mark. No, he stayed to the end, and we had a great day out. It was fantastic, and he very, very kind of him to take me up there. And I'll be buying him a beer or two if he's lucky in the Tollington on the weekend before the Hammers game.
There you go. So no more Twitter hate for Mark, please. Finally, Kate.
My shout out is for Ray Fox, who is at Ray G Fox, because we were having a discussion with him about puppies at the weekend, and I'd forgotten about shout outs, and I didn't think of anyone else. Oh, but I do have another one to at the _GFP because he's got a runny bum. So pray for the GFP.
Nice. So all that's left then is to thank my lovely panel for this evening. Thank you very much, Gav, Andrew, Kate.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
It's been a pleasure as always. So that was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and keep it Arsenal. Good night.
Great timing by the dog there.
Yeah, it sounded almost disappointed that the podcast was going to have to finish.
you all right, Dan?
No, I've got stomachache. I've got the shits.